Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Remember to subscribe to the show. Today, I'm joined again by broadcaster and Villa fan Luis Miguel Echegaray, formerly of CBS and ESPN, and the host of LME TV on YouTube. More on that later. Great to have you back on the show, Luis Miguel.
Frankie, it's always a pleasure. I loved your opening theme song. I kind of want to just let it to keep rolling. I want to dance to it.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? I found it a couple of years ago and I've just stuck with it. I've tried to find other songs, but nothing quite catches me in the same way.
Leave it, Frankie. Leave it.
Yeah,
leave it.
Sort of thing I might hear if I'm out in Ibiza or something and get dancing to, But look, the pure excitement going on at the moment is obviously the Newcastle win. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, pretty much, I'm sure I'm echoing everybody here that supports Aston Villa Football Club. Never did I think, Frankie, that I was going to see Villa win at St. James's Park again, because it's been so long since 2005. And of course, that included multiple red cards. So it had its own narrative in that fixture. If actually the last time we won at St. James's Park with 11 men on the pitch on the other side was before the Premier League even, was a thing. So it's a very difficult place to play. They bring the euphoria, they bring the energy. Newcastle United are pretty much like a Jekyll and Hyde team sometimes. Away from home, they can struggle, but at St. James's Park, in front of that stadium, in front of that crowd, it can be pretty overwhelming. But I was just so happy with that win, Frankie. Obviously, the 3 points are what matters, but I think it was also the conclusion of such a week that came with so much, right? The injury news regarding Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn, of course, just Amadou Onana only coming back from fitness, as well as Tyrone Mings. And we go to Turkey and get a result there in a very hostile environment. It says a lot about the makeup of this team, Frankie, to then go into another hostile environment in St. James's Park and really deliver. And there's so many things that we can talk about. But overall, I'll just begin by saying that it was a tremendous win, and it concluded a week of resiliency, which speaks to the mettle of this club.
It really is absolutely unbelievable. And 21 years, I mean, Unai Emery is all about ending hoodoos, isn't he?
Absolutely. He's got some Basque black magic coming to us every time he comes to Villa. Look, I think that it just speaks to, I wrote about it on Substack earlier today, on my Substack. The overall theme of the piece, of the column, is pretty much what we're talking about, which is, here goes again Unai Emery, sort of killing another ghost, right? So many things that we haven't done in the past, so many records that have been broken. And we can obviously allude to the fact that it's Unai Emery and Damir Videgani and Roberto Lave and the ownership all basically following one identity. But here's the other thing I think that it speaks of, which is, it's this, and I've talked about it from in other places, it's this next man up, no excuses mentality. You know what I mean? Like we're also focused and enamored with a specific starting 11 and a specific set of key players that really help us move forward, right? Dibu Martinez, of course, Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn, the captain, Morgan Rogers, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that what we're seeing here, Frankie, more so than any other season since he arrived, definitely before he arrived, is that this isn't a team. This is a squad that's willing to just live up to expectations and deliver. I mean, Emiliano Buendia, to me, is just such a redemption story. This is a player who, in my honest opinion, I thought he was gone. He went to Bayer Leverkusen after that horrible injury that he had to overcome. And I just thought, Leverkusen didn't really go well for him either. And I thought that Villa were just doing everything they can to just ship him off in the summer. But here he comes back, and he has set himself a set of targets to become not just a key player, but somebody that can really turn matches. And he has done it. And it's because I really believe Unai Emery, literally, I believe, sits with every player at some point during training and says, this is what you can be. This is who you can be, and this is what you can do. And he's just a testament on that. So, you mentioned that we've shaken off another voodoo, but it's a testament of what this team is. Forget about the past and focus on the very, very successful present and future.
Absolutely. And going off the Newcastle win as well, it's very difficult to pick a man of the match, but who would you go for?
I mean, Emiliano Buendia comes to mind, and so does Dibu Martinez, because I think he showed examples of why he is a World Cup winner. And I know that we've been frustrated over him. I've been vocal about it. He has shown some inconsistencies. He's dealing with some injuries as well. I think that he's not shaking off. But I think that performance against Newcastle showed just why he is a world-class goalkeeper, not just a good goalkeeper. He kept Newcastle away from the very beginning, and then later in the match, of course, as well. But honestly, it goes to Amadou Onana, Frankie. I think that Amadou Onana on Sunday gave a Claude Makelele-esque performance. He was unbelievable. And even though Bruno Guimaraes was not playing, you still had to deal with the likes of Sandro Tonali and a very, very solidified midfield and a very confident midfield in Newcastle. And I think, to me, Amadou Onana, to me, was just ridiculous. It was in the things that he did without the ball, not just with it, reclaiming possession, being a physical presence, and standing, in a midfield that we didn't have McGinn, we didn't have Kamara. It speaks volumes. I think he did the role of two players, not just one. He was absolutely magnificent. And I'll say this as well. The little things that he does, right? Like putting the 3 in his pocket and all that stuff and riding out the crowd at the end of the game and get them going. Those things are important, Frankie. They are key, because I think you need a personality to go along with the wins. And Onana did exactly that. So to me, my man of the match is Onana. Who is yours, my friend? To me, it's Onana.
I'd have to agree on Onana. I think Buendia had a fantastic day. Ollie Watkins ran his heart out, essentially. Yeah. So many of them stuck out, and I think what we were doing centrally, the way Onana was, you could see him if you watched him in the game, the way he was always looking for Joe Linton, and he'd always go and get goal side of him, get close to him, and basically, I think the Villa that we've always grown up with, or that I've known since the early 90s, has always had a tendency to be a team that you can probably get at and physically bully a bit. And that's partly why we've not won at Newcastle for 21 years. And yesterday was a moment of like, wow, look at that. We've got a player there who can stand up to a Joe Linton, who's not just going to rampage and foul us the whole time. We're going to stand up to him in some way. And also Yuri Tielemans as well, pouncing on Lewis Miley as well. It wasn't like he was close to him, but it was almost like he waited until the ball was coming to Miley and then just out of nowhere was on him. And that was where Villa were turning that ball over so well in the middle and just forcing Newcastle out wide all the time to basically just do cross after cross after cross. But I think one question I was going to say to you, is like, last season there were some question marks over the money we spent on Ian Maatsen. It was high 30 millions, some 50 million on Onana. Question marks about all that. But right now, Onana and Maatsen are looking good value for money, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do a tendency, and I'm guilty of this as well, in the game, not just the Premier League or not just Villa, but anybody. We have a tendency to expect immediate results, right? We purchase somebody and we think we need them to deliver straight away, because when it happens, it's incredible, right? It really speaks to the eye of the scout, to the eye of the manager, to pinpoint a certain player that we need, and then we need immediate effect from them. And sometimes when we spend a lot of money, of course, Amadou Onana was a record-breaking transfer at that point as well. We expect them to do the same thing. All right, you're coming. You already know the Premier League, obviously, from your time at Everton. You're an international player for Belgium. Like, we expect you to deliver straight away. And sometimes it takes a little time. And when we don't see it straight away, we get frustrated, or we think that we've made a mistake. And it's very important for everybody to just sit back and just wait and be patient. And it's not just Onana. Yuri Tielemans, I think, is another one as well that we can think about. I mentioned Emiliano Buendia. People were beginning to get frustrated with Ollie Watkins, and they forget the fact that he's the club's all-time Premier League goal scorer. You know what I mean? So, like, sometimes we need to just sit back and deliver. But to your point, look at what they're doing now. And since Unai Emery's arrival, we have had European football every season. And this season specifically, when you look at this team, I mean, look at Manchester City are a formidable giant of a team, of course, but their answers to many things are always just go back into the market. And they get Antoine Semenyo and Marc Guéhi, one of the best center-backs in Europe, not just the Premier League. We don't have that luxury. I know that we've spent a lot, but it's mainly been on wages. We don't have that luxury because of PSR constraints. So for us to see the money being well spent with Onana and of course Ian Maatsen, as you mentioned, then it's great to see. I mean, it's really transforming itself into being such a great squad, and they're paying off the money that we spent on them.
Absolutely. And I can see some comments coming in. I will get to those a little bit later. But also, it's worth mentioning as well the fact that Fenerbahce away in Istanbul on Thursday night, Newcastle on Sunday away, 3 days apart. Istanbul, it's a 4-hour flight. So that's 8-hour flying time they've had to do in total to get to that game, just after playing Everton as well. I mean, what does it say about Villa, the fact that we can just do this, that we can go to such a hostile environment as Fenerbahce and win, and then follow that up with another convincing win at Newcastle?
The 90% of victories are here. Like, I think, and you mentioned about how you were used to seeing Villa be kind of bullies in the midfield, be physical presences in the past. And I agree. Growing up supporting Villa, I've seen that as well. But the main component has been this mental fortitude that we've always had. And it went away for a long time. A long time it went away, especially towards the decline, of course, and playing in the Championship. And it wasn't until Dean Smith kind of helped us rejuvenate that sense of identity. But for a very long time, we haven't had that sort of mental consistency, even with Dean Smith. Steven Gerrard came in. I mean, we all remember that interview when we were playing Chelsea, was it? And Gerrard was like, realistically speaking, we don't have a chance against Chelsea. Like, what does that say to you? To a player, right? So for Unai Emery to come in here and sort of reinstill that kind of sense of belonging, of confidence that you do belong, not only do you belong, but you belong up there, and we're trying to compete. We want Champions League, we want silverware, all those things, I think speaks to the fact that we can go to Turkey, we can go to a very hostile environment in Fenerbahce, off, by the way, the back of playing a bad game against Everton, and really deliver, and then go to St. James's Park, a place that we haven't won in so long. It's amazing. And then to your point about the traveling that everybody had to do, and then the injuries as well. And by the way, Tyrone Mings, who's been out for a while, decides to start at center back against Fenerbahce and absolutely bully a very, very, very physical player, Jon Hader Duran. Obviously, we know him very well as well. It speaks volumes to the type of team that we are, to the type of players that we have, but most importantly, to the type of manager and coaches that we have that instill that belief in them. It's amazing. And it's the difference between a good team and a great team. And if consistency continues, which we have seen in the past, then we can do great, great things.
Completely agree. And I think one of the most amazing things about supporting Unai Emery's Aston Villa is just the mentality of being able to bounce back from setbacks. And the best example of it is that 5-1 loss on the opening day of the season against Newcastle. Week later, go and beat Everton 4-0. It's just what this team does. They're amazing mentality, really. But one player who played 90 minutes on Thursday and on Sunday and eventually got that goal at the end against Newcastle was Ollie Watkins. What did you make of Watkins?
Well, against both Fenerbahce and Newcastle United, there's no doubt that he missed some chances, right? But it's not just about the chances. Sometimes that can become a little frustrating with Ollie Watkins, is that his decision-making after the first touch can sometimes impede a lot of what he can do in the future. I mean, I remember specific moments against Newcastle where, there was a great through ball. I want to say it's from Emiliano Buendia, and he made the wrong decision in trying to overtake his own man, as opposed to giving one quicker pass to, I think it was Morgan Rogers for a goal. Just his decision making, and I think that has a lot to do with his own sense of, again, confidence and mentality. Having said all that, when you look at his past record, he has been scoring goals. It's just that he hasn't been scoring the amount of goals, in relation to the turnover of XG, if you want to call it, right? The opportunities that he gets as opposed to putting them away. But here's the other thing that we don't talk enough about when it comes to Ollie Watkins: the work that he does when he doesn't have the ball, which is a fundamental part of what Aston Villa do. You have to remember, everybody, that Villa play with one lone striker. And so he is the first line of defense. And against the Newcastle team, where we were selectively pressing, he is the first person that has to press. I mean, there was one specific moment where he ran all the way back and stole the ball back from Newcastle, and then we reclaimed possession. That kind of work rate is imperative towards the success of Aston Villa within 90 minutes. Of course, his most important job is to score goals, and he did that against Newcastle. And obviously, he hasn't accumulated that same amount of numbers as he did last season. But it's important to note that his work off the ball is just as important when he has it. So when he scores, it's great. And by the way, the goal was just instinctive. Ollie Watkins seeing that cross from Lucas Dean and just goes towards goal and heads it in. So I'm hoping that that's the kind of confidence that he's going to continue to build. And again, it's a reminder of why he is so important to the team. Having said all that, we've said it before, Frankie, and I keep saying it over and over again. It's very important for him to have healthy competition, which is why I can't wait until, the imminent arrival of Tammy Abraham and he returns, because I think it's going to be very important for him to have healthy competition in the training ground. I think when you're a striker, you need that. You need that in order to better yourself and also alleviate pressure. But I was very happy with Watkins against Newcastle and even against Fenerbahce, even though he didn't score.
And I was going to say, my next question was going to be on Tammy. And I think one point I wanted to make about Ollie is interesting. Is that I mean, obviously he was involved for both goals yesterday. He came deep and off. He was sort of almost by the halfway line when he collected it on the left and started that move that ended up with Buendia's amazing goal. But as well with Ollie, he's getting to that age now, isn't he? He's early 30s. He's similar to John McGinn. It's the best way to get him at his absolute best now is not to keep playing him over 90 minutes. It's to 60 minutes here and there, and then like against Chelsea when he came on for 30 minutes and was so sharp and got those goals, to win the game. And I imagine if he is one of those players now, he probably accepts it better if Tammy does start 60 minutes, he comes on for 30. And, if you're an opposition defender, you're going to look at that and think, oh, God, here comes Ollie Watkins for half an hour. I don't want to face that. So do you think that Tammy, why do you think Villa have signed Tammy? What are his attributes that you're most excited to see at Villa if and when he joins? And how do you think it will help Ollie?
Yeah, good question. I think the first part is a two-part answer. Number one, you can't ignore the emotional connection that Tammy Abraham already has with Aston Villa, right? It's reported already that, by David Ornstein that, he loves this club. He has great memories. We know that already. We don't need the great Ornstein to remind us, but he did sacrifice his wages to return to Villa. We obviously remember what he did in 2018, 2019 when he scored 26 goals, helping us to return to the Premier League. Obviously, he was a Chelsea player at that time, but he has a connection with Villa, and Villa fans will remember him for that. So I think that barrier has already been set. We already love you, Tammy Abraham. We can't wait for you to come back, and I think that will help him. So that's one component. The most important component to me is the fact that we have seen Tammy Abraham with Villa. We have seen Tammy Abraham with other clubs. We have seen Tammy Abraham with Europe. We have never seen him under Unai Emery. Yeah. And that's a very important part to remember, because Unai Emery has a history with this type of player. Physically tall, but also good, a poacher, but quick, likes to get inside, good from an aerial standpoint. He's done it with Paco Alcácer, who basically he helped his career from Valencia all the way to Villarreal. Yep. And when Unai Emery managed PSG, he did it with Edinson Cavani. Cavani had one of his best moments with PSG and in his career before Neymar Jr. arrived, because he was this lone striker helping Unai Emery. And Cavani and Alcácer both have been quoted in the past on how much Unai Emery helped him become a better striker. So I have no doubt, once again, just like when Marcus Rashford arrived and everybody doubted him, just like when Morgan Rogers arrived from Middlesbrough and everybody doubted that. Jadon Sancho now is showing qualities as well. I have no doubt that there's a difference between being a striker or a player under one manager and then when you work under Unai Emery. And I think he's going to help him that. And then to your point, because it's not just everything, all our eggs are not on the basket of Tammy Abraham. We still have Ollie Watkins. I think that's going to help. And then you have the relationship with Tammy. I think that from a personality perspective, he's going to be great for this squad, right? We know Tammy to be a confident, personable person. I mean, imagine him with Morgan Rogers and Amadou Onana. I think they're just going to build this great relationship. He already knows, obviously, John McGinn. There's just so much here that you can build. So I think those are the things that he's going to help. And then, like you said earlier, I think that because it's not just him, because it's also Ollie Watkins, now he offers a different angle because he holds the ball in a different way. He's an aerial presence as well. He's going to offer another opportunity for Unai Emery to think differently within a 90-minute tactical situation, which, as we know, Unai Emery is in my opinion, at this moment, the best in-game decision maker in the Premier League. And now Tammy Abraham comes and he offers another solution, because let's not forget, Europa League, but we're also still in the FA Cup as well. So it's important to have, a difference in strategy, I think, and Tammy Abraham's going to offer that.
Yeah, and Unai does have a track record as well of working with players who late 20s, early 30s, people maybe think they've had their best days behind them, and he's transformed them into something very different. It's very exciting, I think, for Tammy, if and when he joins, of course. But is there anywhere else you'd like to see Villa add to the squad with the transfer window still open?
Well, a central midfielder, I think, is a no-brainer. Boubacar Kamara is out for the season. John McGinn, reportedly by Jacob Tanswell, out for about 6 weeks. I am hoping that it's earlier than that. And the good news, I guess, if there's a caveat or a silver lining, is that March is going to be a little bit lighter because we have a direct spot in the round of 16 in the Europa League. So, the congested schedule is not as congested. But, we need a central midfielder. I think that once Tammy comes in, I've heard of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I would welcome that because of Premier League experience. And again, the same component. He has never worked under Unai Emery. I think he can help him be better. So I think that's the next immediate need to get a center midfielder in there. And obviously the clock is ticking because this is the final week of the transfer window. But I have no doubt that we will get that before the end of the window. And I think there's probably, Loftus-Cheek is just one of other names, but we need a center midfielder because we have to wait and see what happens with Yuri Tielemans, who came off the Newcastle game with an ankle injury. Unai Emery hopes it's not too bad, but I would be surprised if he plays on Thursday. So, it's very important to bring in another center midfielder in there.
Yeah, agreed. Next game, Salzburg, Europa League, Thursday night. Win that, and it's top 2 in the Europa League table, which would be a huge advantage to us. Basically, it's just go and get the job done, really, isn't it?
It is, but I'm a bit worried because this is exactly what we said when we were about to face Everton, and look what happened. So, this is an interesting one for me, Frankie. I wonder if Unai is going to. I think Bisot's going to come back to goal because he is just wonderful and the best number 2 goalkeeper in the Premier League, in my opinion. I think there'll be a lot of rotation, but also because of the injuries, I think that we have to rotate. We have no other alternative. But then comes the narrative of what you just said, which is to get a top 2 is very important because then we get home advantage in the second leg in the knockout stages until, all the way through the semi-final stage. So we've already got around the 16. So now what does Unai Emery do? Because we also have a game, obviously, in the Premier League this weekend as well. So, he's going to have to juggle a few things. I'm imagining, because of everything that I've just said about trust in the squad, he will rotate again. And I think Konsa will rest again. And I think Lindelof will be, available again. Tyrone Mings will start again. So you would see a similar lineup that you saw against Fenerbahce. The Ollie Watkins thing is intriguing to me. If Tammy Abraham comes very soon, then I would feel better if Ollie Watkins starts against Fenerbahce, plays a full game, and then Tammy can be an alleviated pressure on Sunday. So we need to rotate a lot on Thursday. But, back at Villa Park, Salzburg, get that win, like you said, get the job done, and boom. But I think it would be a very big failure for us not to get a top 2 now that the destiny's in our hands, right? So,
yeah, completely. And just look at that Fenerbahce win. The level of confidence it gave me, what it must have done for the players, is just remarkable, really. But before I get to the comments, one of the questions is, it's something we're starting to hear more and more. The title race, Villa in it, all that. So, you hear it, and it's always in reference to Arsenal City. Unai Emery plays it down as much as he can. What do you think? Are we in it?
Frankie, let me say this. And this is the theme of my piece on Substack that I wrote earlier today. I think that we as Villa fans, because of everything that we have gone through, relegation, almost administration, never really been I think, respected enough throughout the course of our Premier League history. Because it's either a marketing thing or a historical thing, but the quote unquote Big Six has always created this narrative that it's either one of these six teams historically, and most recently Manchester City and Liverpool and Arsenal, and rightly so, because they are massive clubs, of course. But I think throughout the course of this narrative, we as Villa fans have also accustomed ourselves to believe that we are inferior, that we have this sort of inferiority complex. No, I'm not saying that it's not that we don't believe in ourselves or that we're not a big club or anything like that. But I do think that because of the things that we hear in the radio or when we watch Match of the Day or when we watch other videos and analysts or read other contexts, we think that we are not good enough to have this conversation, let alone do it. It's partly why I do what I do, because I am a journalist and I am a pundit and I've worked for many big organizations, but I'm also a lifelong Aston Villa supporter. And it's not about bias, it's about reality. And the reality is, Frankie, is that we are in a title race. We are in a title race. We are 4 points from the top of the table. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Look at the Premier League table. Yes, Arsenal are, despite the loss to Manchester United, to me, remain the best team in the Premier League. And Manchester City, of course, with all their recent history and having one of the greatest managers we will ever see in the modern game in Pep Guardiola and their squad, of course. But we are in a title race. I don't care what you think. It's a fact. Now, I want everybody, every Villa fan, to own that, to champion that, to carry that on the shoulders and to say, yes, we're in a title race. And yes, it is possible to win this Premier League title. Would you have said this to a Leicester City fan who, by the way, is in a completely different situation? Because this is a team under Unai Emery who is absolutely competitively strong enough to fight for this Premier League title. Now, I want Unai Emery to keep saying, no, I want to just focus on the game at hand. I don't care about titles. And I want the team to think that as well. Focus, game by game, ignore the noise. But in terms of a fan base, I want us to own this moment and celebrate it. Because if we don't celebrate it now, when are we going to celebrate it? Celebrate it right now. Will we win the Premier League? I don't know. Only the gods can tell us, Frankie Maguire. But I can tell you this. Right now, we are in a title race. Own it, champion it, believe it, support the club, and let's see. Because I've seen crazier things happen. We can win this thing. It can happen. Will it happen? That's another question. But the answer should be yes, we're in a title race and be absolutely proud to claim it as such.
And that is exactly the way to look at it. Back in 2008, if you'd said to an Atletico Madrid supporter who'd endured some humiliation for decades, you're going to win La Liga twice in the next 10 years, you're going to get to 2 Champions League finals, you're going to win the Europa League twice, and then you tell a Spurs fan in 2008 you're going to be in a Champions League final, you're going to be competing for the title, you're going to win the Europa League. They'd have been laughed at. And
Frankie, why do we support? Why do we love this game? It's not just because we want to watch 90 minutes of action and complain. Or we watch it because of magic. We watch it because of hope. We watch it because of a certain love that we have for this club. If we don't believe now, when? The biggest glass half empty person has to just look at the Premier League table right now and say, yes, we're in a Premier League title race. Let's own it and let's see what happens. But in terms of right now, let's do everything we can to claim it and own it and believe that this Aston Villa Football Club, a European champion, can indeed win this Premier League title.
You've got me believing, Luis. We go like Emi Martinez said, I'm a believer, mate. We'll just get to a few comments before we ask. I want to ask you about your new YouTube channel as well, and ask you about everything you're doing at the moment. Sam Tight is here, friend of ours, Luis.
Sammy, good photo. You're looking good.
Yeah, it is a good photo, isn't it? Yeah, that's an upgrade on his last one, I think.
I know.
Afternoon all melty shirt. Flange,
like
great
it.
to see you as well. Simon Cohen. Lots of people tuning in. Rachel is Lewis as well. Ty Doyle, Anana was immense. Also, Emi Buendia, very true, wasn't it? Emi Buendia was fantastic at Newcastle, wasn't he, as well?
He has a family of rugby players, and you can tell. He's just a bull charging at you. He is, just a phenomenal game. Phenomenal.
And Melcher as well, why do Villa fans love Unai so much? He's our dad. I think that's in reference to Yuri Tielemans.
He's my son. Yeah.
Yeah. Ty Doyle just saying, Tammy coming in will give Ollie that extra bit of determination on the field. He needs competition. True, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Healthy competition breeds success.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ty also mentions that Tammy can take a penalty. We haven't had that for a while, have we?
No, we haven't. He can, but I have seen him miss them as well. But he's a very good penalty taker. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, completely. And so, Luis Miguel, can I just ask as well, so you've got a YouTube channel going on right now. Just tell us everything you're up to.
Yeah, no, thanks. So I left ESPN last September, and I'm just basically on this journey of creating my own content and working with different publications. I have a pretty cool mini video series with 442 where I help everybody out on discovering the next South American talent, especially amidst this transfer window. So I'm doing that, contributing to The Guardian and Yahoo Sports. And then I'm doing my own thing, like you said, LME TV, which is still, in its early stages, but I encourage everybody to follow me. That's where I do 90%, frankly, of my content is Aston Villa. So feel free to go out there and check it out, but also on Instagram. And I have a Facebook page as well, and Substack, which is where I'm writing a lot, live shows, etc. But LME TV on YouTube, where you can find all my stuff. And I work with great platforms like yours, All Villa No Filler, Up the Villa channel as well, and many other outlets. But it's just trying to build this community of not just Aston Villa fans, but positively minded football fans that really just want to talk about the game and celebrate the culture of the game. There's so much disconnect these days, so much negativity. Let's try and build a little bit more cohesion, especially through the wonderful Aston Villa Football Club.
Absolutely. And I will post the links to those as well. Just search out LME TV on YouTube and go click subscribe. Well, Luis Miguel, as always, absolutely fantastic to chat to you. And I can't wait to chat again, hopefully very, very soon.
I'm here whenever you need me, Frankie. Now put on that theme music so I can dance again.
Up the Villa, mate.
Up the Villa.